Hi friends! Thank you for checking out my Procreate markers. I have spent a lot of time tweaking these markers so that they would act and behave just like our favorite artist markers. I hope you enjoy this walkthrough of this entire set. The first marker is called Juicy Chisel Tip. This one acts like the marker that you just purchased from the store. So right out of the box, it's very juicy and rich. In addition to that, this marker has tiny streaks in the middle to enrich the texture of the marker strokes. The second marker is called Juicier Chisel Tip. This marker is a little more even and the color tends to be a little bit more opaque. You can still see the streaks in between, and the streaks are more evenly spaced. When I layer another stroke on top of the original one, you can see it's not 100% opaque, which is consistent with how markers work in real life. I love the tiny little textures that you can see within the strokes, which adds a lot of characters to your illustration. When I compare the two markers side by side, you can tell the difference. So the first one is the Juicy Chisel Tip, and the second one is the Juicier Chisel Tip. And the second one is slightly more opaque than the first one. The next brush is called Very Dry and Streaky. So that's exactly what it is. So imagine you have a marker that you use over and over again, and eventually it gets a bit thirsty. So this is what it looks like. This one is called Juicy and Scratchy. This one is a variation of the previous marker, except the lines are a little more clear and bolder. Imagine if you have a marker that's still pretty juicy, but the tip is a little bit messed up because the paper or whatever medium that you are drawing on is not very even. The next marker is called Marker Low Mileage. So when I draw a super long stroke towards the end, the intensity of the color has tapered off. If I were to go to the tail of the long stroke and start a new one, you can compare the beginning of a stroke and the end of the stroke. This really opens up a new door for us to bring our experiences of drawing on paper with real markers to our iPads. The marker after that is called Dry Rake Coarse. So this marker is very similar to the Scratchy one, but with a very different texture. The next marker is called Super Scratchy. That's what it is. Imagine if you have a favorite marker that you use over and over again and it gets tired and thirsty, but still it gives this unparalleled texture like no other. The next marker is called Dry Fine Rigs. It's a variation of the previous one, but it gives one really prominent line as well as tiny little lines around it. That's all the chisel-tipped markers. The next four markers are fine-tipped. The first one is called Juicy Fine Tip Bold. It gives us really bold colors without losing texture. It's really fun to use this marker to color a larger area. So instead of the normal color drop, which gives you a flat color, this marker can really up your texture game. The second one is called Juicy Fine Tip. This one is a less bold version of the previous marker. The same color appeared to be a little more transparent in comparison to the bold version. And you can see the edges has a bit of a bleeding effect as well. So if that's what you need, this is your marker. Going down the list, we have the Dry Fine Tip. This one still is a fine-tipped marker, but a little bit drier. There is a stronger streak in the middle, but the outer edges are a little bit more fuzzy and more translucent. Last but not least, we have the Old and Fuzzy Fine Tip. The bleeding effect on the edges is on the stronger side. When you layer the strokes on top of each other, it can really blur the boundary between the digital illustration and the traditional medium. All right, that's all the 12 markers in the set. You can grab your copy today through the links below. And you can also find out more information about how the strokes look like by each marker and when they are layered and how they look like when used with different colors. My name is Esther Narioshi. I am a US-based illustrator, and I hope to see your beautiful work in the world soon. See you again.